Hello. So if you are receiving the link to the YouTube video that I'm making right now, it's because we need some work on our Lewis stat diagrams, which is not a big deal. I'm going to put together a couple examples to kind of help us figure out where we are going wrong. So we're going to look at these steps to kind of help us out, which are the Lewis diagram step-by-steps from April 28th in a Jamboard. To kind of help out with these two different assignments. The first one's going to be for the Lewis dot practice for ionic and covalent. The other one's for the Lewis dot diagrams just for covalent. So keep in mind for this one, the first question you should be asking yourself is, okay, what kind of compound is this? Is it ionic or covalent? To answer that, you could do one of two things. You could say, okay, if it's a metal and a nonmetal, it's ionic. If it's a nonmetal and a nonmetal, it is covalent. Or you could look at the difference in electronegativities. I'll kind of let that be your decision, but I will grade it consistently on if you've done all electronegativity or all metals and nonmetals. The next thing you need to kind of ask yourselves is, how are we going to draw, or how is our Lewis dot diagram going to differ for ionic versus covalent? And this is pretty important from what I've seen already. Keep in mind, ionic, we have a transfer of electrons. Covalent, we have a sharing of electrons. So we're going to show that in a couple different ways. For ionic, we use an arrow to show the movement of electrons. For covalent, we use a line to show the sharing of electrons. So make sure you're being consistent in how you're drawing your arrows. Things I've seen also for ionic compounds. You have to put the charges on there. If I have K, F, potassium, fluorine, fluorine is in group 17. It has 7 valence electrons. Potassium is in group 1. It has 1 valence electron. That means fluorine's going to take, potassium's going to give. I'm going to draw my arrow from the cation to the anion. And now potassium has a charge of +1 because it lost 1 electron. Potassium has a charge of -1 because it gained 1 electron. Keep in mind, those charges all are the result of the fact that electrons are negatively charged. So gaining something negative makes you more negative. Losing something negative makes you more positive. So this is what you need to be seeing in your ionic bonds. Covalent bonds, please, 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 please use this guide. You wouldn't try and bake, for example, flan, if you've never done it before without using a recipe. Same way here, we're all new to drawing Lewis dot diagrams. Use the recipe for it. I give it to you for a reason, not just to kind of make more work for you, but because it really does help. So I'm going to do 2 different examples using this. The first one is going to be PCl3. That's what we're doing here. So, step number 1. Count the number of valence electrons for each individual atom. So phosphorus is in group 15. It has 5 valence electrons. Chlorine is in group 17 and has 7 valence electrons, and I've got 3 of them. So I add all of those things up, and I get a grand total of 26. That's step number 1. Step number 2. The center atom is usually furthest to the left on the periodic table. The exception is hydrogen. So if I look at these elements, phosphorus is closer to the left, so that element goes in the middle. And then I place the other atoms surrounding it. So I go Cl, Cl, Cl. Boom. Step number 3. Connect all atoms to the center atom using a singular bond. Connected, connected, connected. Number 4. Subtract 2 electrons for every single bond you drew. Keep in mind, a bond is 2 electrons, 1 from each atom. 1 and 1 makes 2. So here I've got 1, 2, 3 bonds, 2 atoms, 2 atoms, 2 atoms for a grand total of 6. So I subtract 6 from 26. That means I have 20. So step number 2, subtract 2 electrons for each single bond you drew, which gives us 20. So step number 5, fill the octet of the outer atoms by placing electrons as dots on each outer atom until they have 8. Remember, each line counts as 2. So in this example, each oxygen would need 6 more because they have 2 here. 2 plus 6 gives us 8. So in this example, same idea. I've got 2 here. My 3 chlorines are my outside or my outer atoms. So I'm going to give each of them 6, which would give them a full octet, or 8 in total. 6, what we call lone pairs or unbonded electrons, and then 2 that are part of the bond. Then I subtract 1 electron for every dot I drew for my current electron count. So I had 20 electrons, I just drew 6, 12, 18, 20 minus 18 equals 2. Step number 7. If there are any remaining electrons, place them as dots on the central atom. If you cannot place more electrons, you cannot place more electrons than you have left in your current count. So we've got 2 left. We'll put both of those bad boys right there. And then step number 8. Once you have run out of electrons, make sure the central atom has 8 valence electrons. If not, electrons must be moved as pairs from the outer atoms to be shared between the central atom and the atom from which the electrons were moved. So I look over here. Does phosphorus have 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That means we're good. And we're done. So the third example I'm going to do is one that's a little bit more tricky. And we're going to do F2C, no, take that back, C2F4, or dicarbon tetrafluoride. So, going back to my steps, my trusty pals, count the number of valence electrons. So if I say 4 fluorines, fluorine is in group 17, 7 valence electrons, I've got 7, 7, 7, and 7. Carbon's group 14, it has 4, 7, 7, 7, and 7, those equal 28, plus 8 equal 36. So that's how many I have, step number 1. Step 2, center atom, usually furthest to the left. The exception is hydrogen, which is never in the middle. Then I'm going to surround the other atoms surrounding it. So in this case, I've got 2 atoms that are furthest to the left. Both of them are carbon. So I'm actually going to connect both of those. And then I'm going to surround each of them with 2 fluorines, kind of split them in half essentially. So 1, 2, 1, 2. And then step 3, connect them all using a single bond. Step 4, subtract 2 electrons for every single bond we drew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to subtract 10 from 36 because I drew 5 bonds. And that leaves me with a whopping total of 26. Step number 5, 5. Fill the octet of the outer atoms by placing electrons as dots on each outer atom until they have 8. So we've got 2 here. That means I'm going to add 6, 6, 6, and the outer atoms means the ones that are kind of on the outside. So in this case, carbon's not going to be considered an outer atom because it's on the inside structure of this Lewis dot diagram. So then subtract 1 electron for every dot I drew. I just drew 6, 12, 18, 24. So I'm going to subtract 24 from 26. And then I've got 2 left over. So then I am going to place any remaining dots on the central atom. You cannot place more electrons than you have in your current count. So I'm going to say, okay, I've got 2 electrons. I'm going to choose this one as my center one. So I put them here. And then I'm out of electrons because 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. So then my last step, once we are out, check and make sure the central atom, or atoms in this case, have a full octet or a full 8. If not, electrons must be moved as pairs from the outer atoms to be shared between the central atom from where the electrons are actually moved. So if I look back here, this carbon has 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but this carbon only has 6. So instead of taking them from fluoride, I'm actually going to take them from this carbon. So I'm actually going to erase those 2 and move them here. Because now each carbon has 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that means I am good to go. So I hope this was helpful. Please resubmit the homework after watching this, and or email me with questions or come see me during office hours.